Htoo walked slowly back from her school to her home. It wasn't far because her dad was the pastor of this little church there between Burma or Myanmar and Thailand, in a place often hit by war. As she got home, she said to her mother, "Momo, I don't feel well. My head hurts." Her mom felt her head and she was feverish. "You lay down here and I'll call your father." When her father came home, she was burning up and they knew they needed to take her to the hospital. But before they could even get her there, she had fainted. When they had arrived at the hospital, they quickly took Htoo in, placed her down because she had slipped into a coma. Her mother heard some weird things said, like she has worm eggs in her head or something very strange, and she began to pray all the more earnestly. The father quickly spread the word, and the church members began to knock and pray, earnestly knocking at God's door for God to rescue this girl. But day after day passed as the coma continued. What do we do? The mother was beside herself. She needed to be next to her, but they'd only let her in there for an hour at a time. She couldn't even eat, and she watched as her daughter grew weaker and weaker. Htoo's father opened his Bible, praying, earnestly pleading for God to do something quick. He thought of the story of Jairus and his 12-year-old daughter, how it had seemed too late when Jesus arrived, but that God was finally able to do something. And as he continued to pray, the Lord moved. About on day 20, Htoo opened her eyes and looked up and saw her mother smiling at her. It was time for both of them to eat again. She quickly grew stronger and was able to return to school. She went on to finish her school there at Eden Valley Academy in a refugee camp. And then it was her turn to serve. As we talked together and she shared her story with me at a training here in the camps at Sunshine Orchard near the camps, she was so just smiling beautifully, saying, "I know God didn't want me to die because he wanted me to be a missionary." After teaching for 2 years at Eden Valley Academy, her mother encouraged her to come home and help them teach at Htoo, where there was a great need. Though it would be less safe, she would be home and she could share the love of Jesus there. As she began to teach, she found it was not easy. She had over 100 students in this school supported by ASAP Ministries. And as she would teach, many of the young people would not have believed in Christ before. Many of them were Buddhists, growing up without the knowledge of God. One girl in particular, named Bobo, took an interest in what she had to say. In the nighttime, she'd come to her room and listen and talk and ask more questions about this Jesus she was falling in love with. One day, Bobo said to Htoo, "Teacher, I really want to be baptized. My mom and dad, they don't want me to be a Christian, and I don't want to make them sad, but I want to follow Jesus. And you know what else, teacher? When I grow up, I want to be a teacher just like you." It has been so fun for me to listen to Htoo as she shared her story with the joy of Jesus shining out of her face. Her and these many other young people who've come together for this training that ASAP Ministries is putting on and sponsoring. They come from such difficult areas. As I listen to their stories, I just recognize that they are there because of courage and the love of Jesus moving in their hearts. Won't you continue to pray for them, support them with your finances so they can have the adequate supplies and things they need in order to prepare these other young people to know and love Jesus and then themselves be missionaries for God. Because Jesus is coming soon. Now more than ever, mission matters.